Welcome to the Molybdenum Software Show, where we are currently two, but there will be more. And Jeremy is not playing Wii.
But coding is even more fun. Or at least mobbing / pairing is even more fun.
Yes, I mean, even just watching it is even more fun. All right. Take the helm.
Okay. I'm already sharing my screen. How's the size of things here? Is this legible?
Can you easily increase the resolution?
I can
decrease the resolution.
I can do that. See what happens here. So I cranked the DPI thinking I could leave it at the native resolution. Let me see what happens if I do this. This is going to be wildly different, I bet. Okay. How is that?
That's nice.
Okay. Let's go to town. So get fetch origin. Oops. DB, get poll, DB. What do we got? Oh, we did a flake update. Way to go. All right. Did this thing get merged up? I guess I'd find out if I ran git trim, or is that okay? I'll do git trim in dry mode. Document API and poem, we do not want to get rid of those. Is there some way to be more targeted with git trim here?
Sorry, with what?
Like git trim is
git trim.
Gonna delete these two base branches for mob branches that I'd rather not get rid of.
I did not look into, I simply don't use it when there are mob branches present.
Got it. Makes sense.
Occasionally there is no mob branch present, and then I use it. It does have
merge
quite a few
local
options.
Let's see what that does.
I don't think there's a
Really? Delete. Okay.
It's an argument to delete.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's all I want. All right. I don't see any remote stuff getting deleted. So, okay. Makes sense. We started playing with documenting stuff using Rocket, and then we were pretty disappointed by the state of the art there. And then we jumped over to Poem. I think things are in quite a state over here. Do you know what this branch is about? Whoops.
Fixdoc CI workflow.
Feels like it
sounds
probably
like
got
something
merged.
that is finished.
Yeah, I mean, that would have. Oh, I think we squeezed that into a branch before it got merged up or something. Okay. DB. Here we go. Great. Okay. And wow, that's playing nicely with my DPI. Yikes. All right. So I'm going to do a git checkout of mob / poem and a mob start. I guess I'll do more of a, oh no. Did I actually delete something without realizing it? Huh. Or, oh, is this because I don't have I deleted the local base branch? Okay. So I can do that by doing a git checkout poem. And then maybe a mob start. Thanks. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So if I do a cargo build, it's probably not gonna work, right?
Start up the editor to warm up the.
Good thought. Okay. So consider importing this crate. Here we go. Failed to resolve. Okay, makes sense. We're not using Rocket anymore. Should we just start from the very first error, or should we?
I think you can make the font smaller.
Okay. Let me just change the DPI here, which I do not have a good way of doing. DPI. Here we go. Gonna,
What's DPI? I in Sway there's resolution obviously, but and then there's scaling.
yeah, I think right on
DPI is
this.
probably scaling.
Yeah, it's related to that for sure. I don't know the details. Okay, how's that?
That seems like the starting point we had.
Oh, you're right. It definitely changed my resolution back. Here we go. All right, how's that? Or have we
Reasonable.
just gone in a circle? Right. You're not saying anything, so I'm gonna
If
assume it's okay.
I'm not. I think it can be a tiny bit smaller.
Okay. Oh man, you can hear every key press from me, can't you? Yikes. That's a little of that. A little much. Okay.
Well, that's goes both ways, doesn't it?
I don't know that I can hear every key press from you. Right. My hope was to always use monitors at their native resolution, but I guess I have more tweaking to do. Sorry, did you say a little bigger or a little smaller? I may have
A
gone
little
the wrong
smaller.
direction there. How is
A
this?
little smaller
Sorry.
can be a
Okay,
little small.
got it. So let me go to 250. Sorry. Good morning. And I will rotate it to you. No, give me that resolution back. Okay, how we doing?
It seems like a reasonable
Okay.
state,
And with that said, I'll rotate over to you. And I'll be
right?
ready to rock for the next one.
This is the branch.
Okay.
Open. Over here. Editor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good starting place.
Sure.
I see.
The Tokyo main use. Oh no, we had a rocket declaration that did that for us or something.
Yes, Rocket provides a
Okay,
main wrapper.
sweet.
Rocket is kind of
Opinionated slash controlling.
Here's the next error. It's a Rocket 30.
Okay.
But this is maybe it's simply not necessary anymore.
It's gonna need to be probably gonna need to be serializable, deserializable, but we could just delete that
Yes.
and follow the errors. Oh, nice. Okay, sure.
This is like additional input for 30 to
Yeah.
consider, but I'm not sure what it's even
Cool.
necessary. Okay. Response is not in scope now. This is a landed error.
hmm Yeah. So we're saying, what is this?
So there's a
Response
type
responder.
called landed error.
Yeah. Now I remember
It's an error.
conceptually what that is, but what's a response? That's a rocket thing for. Oh, okay. This is if we raise an error, then this is how it turns into an HTTP status code in
Um,
body. Okay. Yeah.
yes,
So there must be some poem way of doing this.
right. Opening the docs. What the docs are like some
This is
book, right?
interesting because I feel like we're going to be just trying to get code compiled for a very long time. I wonder if I guess this is just the Rust way of doing things.
There's no there's no shortcut to that.
Yeah. I'm like
It's
reminded of
just
my Java days when I would I was a much more beginner programmer, but I'd like go multiple days when refactoring a project where it wouldn't compile. And
yep.
in Python, I never do that. I just start running tests and, you know, maybe it takes me a while until one test passes again. I guess it's really the same thing, just happening at
It is, right?
compile
Because
time rather
those are
than
like
build time.
free tests.
Yeah. I guess
Handling
the
errors.
annoying thing is we're kind of being forced, you know, like
Mm.
we've written tests that don't raise any landed errors. It would kind of be nice to, in Python at least, we would, you know, run those tests, get them passing, and like feel a little bit of progress, see some green tests. And I guess probably what my brain
Here's the
doesn't have.
progress.
Yeah.
You
So
have
the
11
dopamine hit
errors.
of like eliminating compile errors isn't there for me yet because I don't actually have, you know, I'm not a true believer yet. I don't believe that when we're done with the list, we'll actually be done with this mob branch, you know?
Mm.
And this will be a very interesting possible true believer moment for me at the end of this when we get through the end of this list. How many more hours of work do we have on this mob branch? And if I were to try to catch you now, Shahar, do you think we'll be done, or do you think we'll have many hours of work left after that?
I think there's a. I think it will take us. Most of the time will take us to fix these errors because, for
Yeah,
example, now it's not just like what are the chances that this looks very similar in poem? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, we need to make some change.
yeah,
But eventually, after all these errors are gone,
that's what I'm asking. How much more work after that
it
do you think?
it'll probably just work.
Okay,
But
well
there's but
that is
those
the promise of Rust, right? Or the promise of any compiled language, I imagine,
but
but the one that the Rust community really seems to believe. So here's the chance. Make me a
But I
believer.
think after these errors are gone, there will be more errors because
Okay, sure. So this is not
perhaps,
the complete list because there are multiple phases of compilation.
yeah, maybe the integration tests, for them, this is a dependency. So dependency is failing. This is not even that they're not even
Cool.
attempted.
Well, this is really exciting for me. This is my first time like refactoring a Rust project, and I think this will really give me a sense of how effective the compiler is, or just how effective, the ecosystem is. Like it's not just the compiler, it's also how these libraries work and what they're enforcing at build time. Okay, I'll stop talking. Let's just make things compile.
So here's handling errors in Poem docs. Following example returns customized content when not found error occurs.
Oh, cool.
There's this handler
Hmm.
macro from Poem, and
Okay.
not found error is an error that is imported
Oh,
from
catch error.
Poem.
Okay.
But we're
So
talking
there's
about
some
our own
default
errors.
handler that, and we're overriding it here.
It seems like it,
Makes sense.
but this is not answering our question yet.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Rotated.
hopefully mobs start 7. Okay. W. There we go. Okay. Error. This the same thing or yeah, okay. So we're definitely not going to implement this. It's possible that the based on the
Share
code
screen.
we were just looking at that somewhere else we're going to get a compile error about trying to create a poem server that doesn't know how to handle this error.
Share screen.
Oh shoot. So I'd sort of be inclined to comment this whole block out and assuming those docs we looked at were the right way of doing this, we should get a compile error because we haven't told our server how to respond to this thing.
It seems like a futile attempt to me. I mean, I'm not trying to test the compiler. I want to see how the equivalent is done in Poem.
Hmm.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
We
I'm
need a
just
custom
thinking we
error type.
didn't. Yeah.
That's
Ooh.
eventually. What's the purpose of an error type in our application, in our code?
So wherever we're declaring the route plural.
It all just gets converted into some response, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even sure that that's a thing in Poem. You know what I'm saying? Like in Rocket, apparently you get that's desirable. Maybe in Poem, I think that the idea of this is that it kind of lets you decouple your response based logic from your, I don't know, from your whatever implementation is under that, right?
I mean, this smells the same to me, which is our API handlers are raising these nice Rust errors, and then we have to convert those into something that goes over the wire, an HTTP body and status. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what's happening here, right? Is
Yes.
converting the nice Rust type into an HTTP status and body.
Not quite. It's not equivalent because this is not necessary. This catch error
Well,
is.
okay. So I guess what I've been incorrectly assuming is that
Mm-hmm.
something about the way that this thing is built is at compile time, it enforces that every error type that these handlers raise, it somehow knows how to handle. And this is built in, but if we were to raise some new one, then uh, we get a compile error where we're constructing a rep app, or I guess that's what it's
You
called.
know what? It seems like I think catch error is like, see where it says that the following example returns customized content when not found error occurs.
Hmm. Yeah, that's not a custom error, so maybe we're looking at the wrong thing.
It's not a custom error, but it may be that you can have multiple catch errors chained after each other, and each
Yeah,
one would kind of handle a different
that was that was what I was
error,
guessing. Yeah.
and that would. I'm not sure how this is type checked again, but it's like obviously foo and bar never return these errors. So like, how does that work?
Yeah, good point. So it'd kind of be fun to have like a dead simple poem separate project and we could like answer some of these questions because we're so far from being able to compile our app.
How about we take a look at some of the functions, some of the methods. For example, what does at return?
How would I find that? That's a method on route. Let's see, route.
Well, you would start with route new, see
Yeah,
what that returns.
so that would be a struct route. There should be a new in here.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. Oh, hey, there we go. Returns a route. This must have a catch error on it.
At.
An at? Oh, yeah. What does the at return? Probably another route. Let's see. Yep, returns a self. So does this have a cat? No, does not have a. I can't remember if it was called
If it's
catch
not
or try
inherent,
catch. Say that
it's
again.
a catch. If we don't find the method inherent on the type, then it's
Hmm.
via a trait,
A
such
trait.
as maybe endpoint
Stuff.
endpoint.
I don't see any functions or methods here. Get response. But I guess we can look at other traits.
There's endpoint ext.
Hmm. Hello, beautiful. Okay, so when you call catch error, you get a catch error back. Here's another example of a custom 404. Oops, somehow hit play on my music there. Custom 404. Does this look the same? Yeah. Okay, so that's the same thing. And are we trying to answer the is this chainable question?
We're trying to see how to use poem. Does Poem have many examples somewhere?
Oh, Rust phone examples. Oh my gosh. Use Zoom. Samples.
The Chrome of your
Yeah, it's because I've
browser, why is it
cranked the DPI up,
okay?
and that's because I was hoping to stay at the native 4K resolution of this monitor, but now
Mhm.
I've changed the resolution, but not the DPI. And there's some huge discrepancy between Chrome and Alacrity, which I think I know. I think Alacrity doesn't respond to DPI changes in F11 or something, so I don't know. I need to play with this.
No, so okay, let's go to Poem's poem.
All right. Custom error. That looks juicy. 37 lines. Almost fits on my screen. Result string. And here we go. Error, custom error. That's a message. And then impl response error. Okay. I don't see where the body is. Maybe it's this. I don't know what this is. Is that coming from somewhere?
What is
This thing I've got highlighted. Error.
um
Or is that like
no, that's not in
a,
scope. It's
a detail of this thing?
probably
Okay.
yeah,
So what is
yeah.
this error?
This error is a utility for implementing the error trait on your types.
Okay. So not a poem thing. So
It's
yeah, I don't.
prevalent.
Are you expected to have a message attribute? I don't understand.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah. So I don't understand what the response body is here. Maybe it's just
The
empty
response
and there's
body.
some impl response body we could implement if we cared. Response error, response. Error.
A bit too fast for me. Also, um, I think I can probably explain if I get get to see all the code.
Sure. Which code?
This example,
Okay. Here we are.
and if you just ask me, I think I should be able to explain.
So I'm trying to understand in this example, I see them overriding the status code for this custom error. What's the HTTP response body?
Where do you see body?
I don't. And so maybe this example doesn't show how to do it, but it's something we care about.
Okay, okay, I get it. Um, the custom error implements error, the
Uh-huh.
this error trait, not
Hmm.
the actual error trait. Actually, I think yeah, I think that's different. Or maybe this error there's no trait there. I think it helps you implement display and conversions.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that into on line 23. What you're doing there is instantiating such custom error, and you're turning it into a string.
I see.
And the
Right.
turning it into a string is controlled by line 7.
Okay.
Line 7 is a way to tell this error, this is how to format this error type into a string.
Okay.
That's how you implement display for it,
All right.
which,
That makes sense. So now I'm
yeah.
confused in a completely different way, which
Mm-hmm.
is okay. So this thing just returns a result of string, and the string in this case is just the string coming from here. What the heck is this implementation for, and how can it possibly affect anything?
Enable response error for custom error. Status takes for self. Instantiates status code. Why does the status code, why is it a struct that has a field?
Oh, this is a poem result. Okay, I think I understand now. I thought this was just a regular Rust result, but I think the answer is if you're converting an error into a poem error, it has to implement response error, and maybe it has to be stringifiable or something so you can have a response body.
Stringifiability is kind of expected for errors
Hmm.
in general.
Okay, this at least this
Display.
code now makes sense to me. I can imagine what it's doing.
Can you, but custom, that line 13,
Hmm.
status code bed request. Now, okay, I get it. That's a variant of status code. Okay.
I don't know what variant means.
Status code on line 13, status code, and on line 13, that's
Hmm.
the return type of the function status that is required for implementing response error. Status code is
Yes.
an enum,
Hmm.
and one of its variants is bad request.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what it looks like to me. So in poem, and so the handler returns a poem result, which has some kind of a poem error. And what you need to do is you can return your own custom error. And what you need to do is to implement response error for that custom error.
Yeah.
So it's not very different than what we're doing now.
Well, this feels problematic and like,
It has only status, right? Maybe.
well, the thing that feels weird
Mm-hmm.
to me and is not the way that I think we've written our tests in the Rocket universe is I think in the Rocket universe, these API handlers, actually, sorry, I can't remember. Maybe we're not. Our API tests are, okay, sorry. I was incorrectly thinking that we were testing these handlers just sort of by invoking them like functions. not like doing all the HTTP machinery, but I think that's wrong. I think our tests actually do, go through the whole HTTP dance. Maybe it doesn't spin up at a TCP server under the hood, but whatever tooling we're using uh, runs through all that rocket code. So never mind. I had a concern. It's not worth me trying to articulate it. I agree. This seems like something we could totally do. And I do think that if we just commented out the code we were looking at, we'll eventually get an error over in our handlers because our handlers are going to have to return a poem result, and we should get an error about how our custom errors can't get converted into a poem response error.
And what about response error? The status here is enough, but what do we provide?
Well, we do a body, which seems to be what that is, I'm guessing. But we have this raw text in addition to the status.
Yeah, maybe the reason that's optional in Poem because it has the defaults.
Mm-hmm.
It has a default implementation in the trait, probably based on that status.
Yep, sounds reasonable. So I do think that we could just comment this whole thing out, and we are going to inevitably have to do this later. Or we can do it now.
I suggest we do it now.
Okay. I will rotate. No changes, so go for it.
Share screen. So what is the this stuff?
Yeah.
It's a poem something.
We need a response error, which comes from poem : error.
Error?
Poem : error, response error. Yeah.
Four. And implement missing members. Here's status. But I want to see. Huh? I want to see what happens when I do implement default members, because there's as response and there's missing. So there's status and as response.
Okay.
That's the optional part. We are actually currently doing that, right? This response raw text.
It seems like to play with poem, we're going to have to make that the way our error serializes or something, or stringifies itself.
What? Why?
If I understood the code we were just looking at.
It's not necessary. This can be implemented in any way that we like, right? But we are already doing that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We could make that change, Currently, this text is here.
Yep. So did you see a different way of doing it? Because the only way I saw from that example was
Well,
basically
you don't
controlling how the
have to. You can hard code just like it's hard coded here. You can hard code. But let's start with the status because that's when
Okay,
it's required, and then we
let's do
can
it.
do this. So the status would depend on like match self,
Yeah.
just like here.
Yep. Totally.
Match self, fill it. We have PR number, blah, 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 non-positive, and 4 PR. Let's see. PR number non-positive, it's 400.
Sorry, I think I must have not been paying attention. This as response function, how did this end up here?
I can do it again. Delete it and then implement default members.
Oh, okay. But we didn't see that in the code we were looking at, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Sorry. So that's the thing that answers my question about another place to put the strings. I see. Wonderful. Love it, love it.
Right.
And is status optional? Like, could we just inline that in the as response?
No, because status is a
Okay,
required
cool.
member. It doesn't have a default implementation. That's why we got it empty. And
Okay,
this one we got with the actual default
sweet.
implementation.
Okay. So previously we had
Just in the
one.
default implementation, you notice that the body
Yeah,
is self to string. So we could actually take advantage of that.
I see. And that's what the example we were looking at does. It was taking advantage of that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we
This
should
all
do
makes
that.
sense. So basically, when you're asking your ID there to fill in the default members, that's different than like just give me the ones that I am required to fill in, the ones that don't have defaults.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know which I prefer. This is a Rust, somebody with some Rust experience. Like, do you think we should implement the stringification of our errors like that, or
I like the poem suggested way where you see here we already do so, but it's like actually we already kind of do. You see, the transparent here means that it's the single field here that will be used. The stringification of this, the display of this variant will be just the display of this type.
okay?
If we go to this type,
Mm-hmm. It just seems to me like coupling the HTTP response with the way that we stringify the error in Rust code smells off to me
mm,
because like you could imagine in the future we actually decide to have like JSON responses for errors. And that would be like a very HTTP specific thing and not something that you'd
well
like.
then, you don't. It's not coupling. It's just now we're using these are plain text anyway, right?
Yeah.
So just use these, and it's not like you're creating some API that you have to stick to. And if you
No, I
want
get that we could
JSON
change it.
later, you can change it.
Yeah, I get that we could change it. I'm just saying like the way I'd be inclined to structure this code would be the internal representation is different from the external representation. And the example we saw blurs the line between those two things. But I don't feel like super strongly about this. Like I agree,
Rotated.
we could totally change it in the future.
Well, I don't share screen.
Yeah.
I don't see a difference between the internal representation and it's quite a simple error message that says there is no such PR, or you know.
Yeah, the example I gave of like if we started returning like a JSON response in the future, that would be a scenario where these would be different things.
Also,
Uh,
I don't quite see what JSON, but
well, we're
maybe
not
I'm
doing it right
short-sighted.
now. So like right now, when you make an API call to like, query for an invalid pull request number or
Mm-hmm.
something, uh, the client code we've written is, probably assuming you get JSON back, but we're just returning, you know, a HTTP 400 with raw text.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the future, if we wanted to like document our return types and, you know, with OpenAPI, whatever, we'd probably have some
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, error field with, a code or something and a
Mm-hmm.
human readable message or something. And that would all
Okay.
be like how we serialize the error in our response body. And it would be like very
Mm-hmm.
HTTP API specific and not something that you'd, I think, want your Rust error
Got it.
classes uh, doing just when you're like debug printing them internally.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the full thought in my head. That said, we're not doing any of that right now. In the future, if we wanted to, it would be a simple enough change to make. So I am happy to write this however you feel is best.
I would I would take a look and see what the implementation of display for these variants are. Currently, the raw text here is non-positive pull request number.
Yeah. So like you said, transparent. So then we go into here and we get
Right.
ER number non-positive. So a little different.
Yes.
Seems fine to
We
me.
could. Yeah, it doesn't matter which. Well, it does matter because this is now internal. So if we want like no changes, even though it's not a
Yeah.
programmatic change, but if we want no change, we would adopt place here the one that is currently in the implementation of the API error.
Yeah. So that would be no external change. It would be an
Yes.
internal change. And
Yes.
yeah, like I said, we can do that. We could also just have two separate implementations. Uh, I'm driving. Tell me what you want to do.
Um, well, yeah, let's. How about we go for the least change?
So I think the least change would probably be to keep it all in this impl, right? Like have a match block
Yes.
that. Okay, great. So we don't change the internal or the external stringification of these things. And so we've got the status. Did we lose
Let's
the?
start with the status.
Can I just add that default other one?
Sure.
How would I do that? Implement default trait members. Beautiful. Love it, Shahar. Love it. Okay. Now I'm going to take this match block and I'm going to delete a bunch of stuff from it, which is basically all we're going to do is return the status, right? This will be like 400. This will be 500. And this will be what? Oh, there's a nice 404, I guess. Not found. Oh, I'm getting this wrong. Whoops. Okay, we want a poem HTTP status code. Look at all these status codes. what is it? User error? I don't know what they're called. I am a teapot. Love it.
Input error?
400. I'm just searching the code. Bad request.
Bad request.
Okay, and then 500 is server error, internal server error. Dope. Poem. HTTP. There's got to be a faster way for me to do this. Internal server error. Great.
I
Let me
think
do
you
that again.
can import status code.
Okay. What's the clever way of doing that?
There's an action.
No? What do I need to select?
Not select, but be on
Beautiful.
status code. Yes.
Love it. Hey, it got back to one line. Love it. Okay. So now we need to self.toString. So, okay, help me understand this. ToString is, whose ToString is this?
This is from display trait.
Okay, I see. And this thing is not, we haven't implemented display here. We've implemented that with this error is helping us out with that.
Correct.
This is the magic. Okay, cool. So this would be like, I don't know, response body or something. Like I might just, for symmetry, have a function called body. And then this would return a string. Still don't know my types.
Why would you have another function?
I mean, we could also put it, we could inline it in here. I was just trying to keep things symmetric with like, we have a thing for status, we have a thing for body, and then we can.
I would keep things as similar as to what they are now. Also, you can't just add whatever you want in here. This is the trait implementation.
I see. Okay. So to keep things as similar as we like, I mean, I can just inline this in here, the as response function, and just build up the body. Is that what you were thinking?
Inside the body, that's where the match would be. Yeah. Or, let body equals.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. And then maybe we inline it. Okay. This is gone. Okay. And now we're just doing the raw text. Oh boy. Ah. Okay. Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, beautiful. You want to inline it? Oh, wait. I got to use it. We have to use the body. Okay. Uh, that looks nice to me, but do you want to see what it looks like inline?
Sure.
That also looks reasonable to me. Maybe a little harder to. Your call. What do you prefer?
Fine either way.
Okay. I'm going to leave it like that
But
then.
why is one in Yeah, I think that's out of our control.
And then I'm going to delete that. Oh no. There we go. Beautiful. That was very satisfying. I like this. This feels nicer than the Rocket code. We're just dealing with strings, and they also have nice named status codes for us, whereas previously we were like passing in integers and then doing a try unwrap on them or something messy. So I am happy so far. Our first brush with Poem, I'd say, is going nicely.
I agree.
Almost like poetry, huh? All right. Mahav next. Okay. All you.
Two errors. Only two errors.
Really? Okay, well, that's how it starts, I guess.
Well, what is this? All this is commented up.
Mhm.
Okay, this is a handler, poem handler. The trade bound, stood result, landed there. So the handler should basically wait, landed there. Poem error into results. This is a bound. It says to this type, stood result, landed and landed error, which is the one you see here.
Okay.
This bound applies. So this whole thing is a bound. It says
Bound.
a bound.
Okay.
It says this type must implement that trait.
That's what a bounding is.
A bound.
That's what a bound is. It's saying
Yes.
this type must implement such and such trait. And so it's saying this result type does not implement into result. Poem error
Correct.
into result. Okay. And then it's
Does
saying,
not
hey, by the
satisfy.
way, it is implemented for this other thing. Which is odd because that other thing looks generic enough to capture the thing it's complaining about, T and E. Huh. How am I misreading that?
Because it may be that T and or E have more bounds.
Where clauses that we can't see in this tiny little message?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. That makes sense.
But
Okay.
in the handler, in the custom poem, that's not what we saw in the examples. Where are the examples? Examples, poem. There was a custom error.
Yes, there was.
Error. That's not what we saw for handler. Handler
That's a
didn't
poem
have the
result.
custom error type returning, even
Yeah.
though. So it was more like poem, result, and this. Right?
Okay.
Even though that does not seem to work. Poem result,
Do we have to call
handler,
into?
function. Well, maybe, but that still that
That's a
wouldn't
different problem.
uh but 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 in here this custom error does implement response error.
Mhm.
We don't do that, do we? Like,
Well, what's the response error we just implemented? Was that for a different type?
I'm not sure, but landed error, it was a different, because see, landed error is here, right?
Okay. And sorry, can you flip back and undo the change you made? I didn't have that in my head just yet.
Here.
Okay, so this was a result of landed in or landed error.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we've
And
somewhere
a poem
defined.
result
Mhm.
is this thing. Is this a result where the error is by default this particular struct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we understand how errors get serialized. I don't understand how regular old responses get serialized in Poem. So like this landed in, which is some like, structured type we've defined. Somewhere we need to define how to convert that into an HTTP status and response body, right?
Yep.
So we've done that
Maybe
for
it's
Rocket.
well, it is here.
Oh, and we deleted that line of code, right? The Rocket SERDI line of code.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we need to figure out the equivalent for Poem.
There might not need to be an equivalent. What the error here is not about landed in, right? It's about landed error.
Oh, okay.
Landed error needs to implement, just like custom error here implements
Yeah.
response error. So
Okay.
we can
So I
try.
think I'm just mixed up on what we just implemented. We implemented response error for something else.
No, you're right.
Oh, okay. No, we did. Yeah.
For
Great.
landed error.
Okay. Sweet.
So now I don't know why this is complaining.
I mean, it.
Rotated.
Okay. Sharing screen. Okay. Mob started. Colon W. What have we got? What have we got? All right. Is this the one we're looking at? Landed in? Nice. So we know that landed error, which we can't see anymore, but that's coming presumably from here, right? Like this question mark, or this, maybe this one. One of these is returning a landed error. Can return a landed error. Yep.
Do you think landed error is still now the inferred return type?
I am not understanding. So like this Rust error, don't, but the landed error is a thing that can be converted into one of these, right? But we haven't done that. Like, isn't that what in the example code they're calling into explicitly?
Is
So
there?
don't.
No, that's converting it into a string, isn't it? Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know what it's doing.
Hmm. Yeah, error conversion is yeah, that looks like error conversion.
Sorry.
The
So this
into
is the built-in Rust error right here, not a poem error.
Well, that is the air variant of the result enum.
Okay, but this result enum is like a poem thing.
No,
Poem
I mean it's
result.
kind of it's a type alias.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it in the editor, it'll show you that the alias, what the alias is.
Okay.
I don't see it yet because it's slow. Okay, the type alias for result, which is just the std result
Mm-hmm.
of T
Yep.
and E.
Makes
Now
sense.
T is passed on to std result as is, and E is also as is. But if E is not specified, it has a default, which is an error type from poem. It's a poem error.
Okay. It does feel to me like we would want to be explicit about landed error.
I think it's the opposite. I think we might want to be explicit about poem error.
Okay.
Try being explicit about poem error
Where?
there.
Like here?
But the trait bound is still not satisfied. Do you see that?
Yep. Right here.
And I'm not sure how to satisfy that. I mean, now maybe landed in also needs to set to. Yeah. How about we go look at poem error into result?
Okay. So to test that theory, at least, I could change this to a string and see if it's happy with the trait bound. Okay. Yep. Great. So that proves you're right. And maybe it means we don't even need the second part of this. Like if I just do a string. Yeah. Okay. Great. So it's something about this landed in. It needs to implement some trait or something.
Yes, most
Okay.
likely.
That totally makes sense because we haven't told poem what to do with it. What's confusing about this is it's just talking about errors. So I guess the issue is if we saw the whole error, okay, I just want to see that. If I do a cargo build, I want to, will this show us the where clauses that we're not seeing? Here we go. This is it, right? Result, landed in. These are completely different errors. The trait bound blah is not satisfied. This is the one we're looking at, right? Line 39. Yeah, this is line 39. Okay. And so it's saying the trait bound blah is not satisfied. The trait into result is not implemented for result landed in poem error. The trait is implemented for blah. Okay. Not really more helpful, huh? Okay. Next. Okay. So what do we do to our response type?
Let me check something. Okay.
Mhm.
Screen. We need to look at the docs for poem error into result. This trait, there are implementors, and it's this generic implementation which says import T and E into result of T.
Yeah.
For result of T and E, this is what.
And that's our issue. Our T does not implement into response.
Into response.
Wonderful.
Into response.
A little unfortunate that the error didn't just tell us that.
Yep. PR welcome.
But I guess there's room for improvement in the Rust compiler, I guess.
Yeah. And so this has one required method that literally returns a poem. It's literally turning consuming self and turning it into a response. Poem response.
Totally makes sense. I would expect to have to do this.
So landed in import poem into response or landed in implement missing.
I see. Missing versus default. Got it.
And then form response. This form response. How do I know which one is form response? Response. Place qualified path use.
How do you
Expected
build one of
value
these?
has some fields, but they're not public.
Okay.
So has
they're like a new or
a whole bunch of constructors.
Okay. Well, we want a success, and we want to JSONify, serialize, self.
I will take a look at this. And okay. You think you know what
builder?
Method builder. Response creates a response builder.
Everything else seems to be pulling stuff out of it, returns. Oh no, there's set content type. I was wrong.
That's a mutator, it's not a constructor.
Yeah.
Represent
Builder seems reasonable.
There's from parts. Response parts. Given head and body. Parts and body. Yeah, let's look at builder. Builder methods body.
Okay.
Body returns a response. It consumes this builder using the provided body to return a constructor. So this is a finalizer.
Just like how finish is a finalizer. I sure would love to not have to type out the string content type application / JSON over and over again. Like, isn't there some layer of abstraction on top of this that's we're successfully returning JSON, serialize it, and set the appropriate header? Like, I see how to achieve our goals with this. It feels like it's going to be verbose and repetitive, and I would not be surprised if there's like an example.
See the examples.
Yeah. Maybe does the word JSON show up in any of them?
I think so.
Okay.
There's a JSON.
Yeah, now we're talking.
What
So
does that take?
home web JSON. I wonder if this is going to force us to have our error serialized as a JSON.
Struct JSON of T,
Mhm.
JSON extractor and response. To extract the specified type of JSON from the body T must implement cd deserialize. That seems, where is it? Where is the usage?
This is for an incoming JSON. That's what we're looking at here. This is different than returning JSON.
Response. So
Response,
this
here we
is
go.
errors, response, serialize the specified. I'm errors? Okay.
They're doing two things, I think.
Response.
They're showing how to read in an incoming JSON value and return a JSON error. We don't care about either of those things, but we do care about this.
So will this just work? JSON of
I don't think we even have to implement into response.
right. Don't we?
I don't think so. Like, can we look at that example again? Aren't they
But
just
it's about the type. Handler. Oh, well, if we declare that it returns a JSON
yeah,
of
exactly.
okay, instead
Okay. I guess we've got that here. JSON. Okay. So we just have to return a web JSON, SERD JSON value. Okay. And that's going here. Instead of returning, yes,
it I don't think it'll be of 30 JSON value. I think JSON of our own type, perhaps.
makes sense. Got it. This is some like just loosey goosey JSON value.
Yes.
Okay. This is a web JSON. Can't tell where these are coming from. Poem web JSON. There we go. Poem web JSON. All
But
right.
hold on, that's sorry. Is that really? I mean, what about isn't it supposed to be a result
Yeah,
of?
I like that. That sounds right. I agree. Poem result. Okay.
Yes, that.
Right. Okay. Well, now we have new errors. The trait
Okay.
found I32 from request is not satisfied. So it's saying I don't know how to pull this out of the request or something. Not treating it as a request parameter.
So the macro is doing something with the parameters here, and we need to see how this macro works.
Mm-hmm.
What like it does something, right? It wraps our function basically, and
Yeah.
these bindings, these parameters, they get placed in some position that has some bounds.
Yeah. So this is an example of incoming JSON, which we're not doing. So if we go here and look for, I don't know, param request.
The handler, the in the docs.
Okay.
Oh, you want to find an example?
I was hoping to, but it wasn't jumping out at me. Poem handler. Doo-doo-doo. All right. Handler. There's not a lot going on there. Example. Thanks. Poem handler. Uh, request parameter. Oh boy. I'm doing it. I'm clicking on the Stack Overflow. I'm sorry.
I think the examples there must be an example for this.
Headers request. Yeah. All right. You just want a simple request. Very, very simple. Request ID? That doesn't sound like it. The thing
This
we
is
want is
about parsing the path.
hello world. How about hello world? This is so basic. Hello. Path name. Okay, so we're unpacking the path there. Interesting. Hello colon name. So maybe we could do question mark. Oh no, this is exactly what we want, right? We got a path parameter. This is how we register this thing. We do colon PR already. Okay, great. And so then we'll do path like that. PR I32. This is what, a poem path? Poem web path. Qualify as poem web. Give me the treatment over here as well. Great. There we go. Okay, it's an I32. I think we maybe did the thing. Does that feel good to you?
Poem web data. And then poem web path PR. I wonder how it figures this out.
Yeah, like, is it gonna help me make sure I didn't typo this?
No.
Aw, that's too bad.
Okay.
Okay. But maybe that was true in Rocket as well. I don't know. All right. Non-positive PR number non-positive error does not implement response error.
That's the try. Let's see. There's a try into there.
Fly into, yes, there is. Okay, so we're just trying to parse the incoming. Oh, this makes sense, right? Okay, so I guess we're trying to convert this into a PR number. It makes sense that that could fail because they're not allowed to be negative or whatever, and so we just haven't implemented. We haven't told Poem how to handle this. Totally makes sense. So we've got some struct defined here. Ideally, we implement the error handling of it. Oh, no, we are trying to handle this because this should turn into a landed error. Okay, sorry, I'm probably jumping around in a way that's useless, but I would have expected that this PR number non-positive error gets converted into a landed error, but I don't know how we were doing that before.
But it's not. It is a PR number non-positive error.
Yeah. So how were we coercing it into a landed error before?
That's the try into does that. The question is what happens when it fails?
I thought
Sorry, hold on.
the
Try
try
into no,
into
I'm sorry.
was to convert the
All right.
I-32.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then it
yeah. All right.
returns a, no, this isn't actually a PR number.
I
And
think
then
you
did
were
this,
looking at the wrong error type a moment ago.
okay, so the thing I was looking at a moment ago, like this is the type we're getting from the try into right here. It says PR number non-positive.
Yeah, go to
That's,
this.
and what I'm confused about is just in the old code, how did, given that this thing could return a PR number non-positive error, how did we then like coerce that into a landed error? Because I know that's what we returned up here.
Hmm.
Like, does Rust do some?
The try, yeah, the try. Do you see line 80?
Yes. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Right. So that's a way of converting. Okay. And so then line 80, what was triggering line 80? Was the question mark?
That can be made simpler. I don't know why it's explicit.
Okay.
Line 80
But
could be made be made simpler. You want to do that on master?
I want to understand how this trait was even getting used in the old code. Like, what was it, the question mark? Or was it the try into? What was triggering that
The
conversion?
the try expression. Try
What's the,
expression it does two things. It early returns an error.
it's the question mark is a try expression?
Yes.
Okay. So that's willing to basically do an into on the error to try to make it.
Yes.
Okay. That was the part I was missing. Okay. And so then why that's not happening anymore because we're not annotating this as returning a result of landed error.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we were to become explicit about that, I know we got rid of this, but lovely. Okay. And then to answer your, does that feel like the right change there?
Mm. I think so because the bound doesn't say that it needs to be. That's the default error. It has its own default error type, but if you can provide your own error type, that seems fine to me.
Yeah, makes sense. And then to answer your question about changing this thing on the right-hand side, would that be using some like this error annotation macro thingy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, whatever you like. If we had some good way of tracking it, I'd rather do it after and stay focused on the poem conversion, but
We have a good way of tracking it. If you go to GitHub and find this line on GitHub, you can open an issue with this line.
Okay, let's do that. Reference a new issue.
But not a single line. Instead, select all of those lines. Those
like that?
two froms, both of them.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this is like get rid of explicit implementations in favor of this error macro that I don't know about.
Yeah, the title could be something like use attribute to implement these conversions.
Use conversion. Okay. Awesome. Great. Now we can let it off of reins and get this thing to compile. Arguments to this enum variant are incorrect. Really? The type constructed contains landed in due to the type of the argument passed in.
It's JSON. You have to construct a JSON struct and then pass the landed in into that.
Let me make sure I understand how you got that out of here. So it's saying I expected a JSON, but I got a landed in. Okay. And a landed in, how do we do that? Is that in the JSON example we have
Okay,
open?
with JSON constructor with
Okay,
landed in. Basically, you just insert JSON between the OK and the landed in.
JSON
Constructor. It's a unit. It's a tuple struct, not a named field struct. So it's parentheses.
Oh. Extract. He must have won. Okay, great. And this is going to give us the HTTP 200 and probably the content type header. Love it. It compiles. Nice. All right. First possible panic here. This is a thing I've never seen before. Oh, this is just complaining about missing documentation. Okay. Good. That's nice.
Well, there's already a to-do for not simply unwrapping there.
Okay. Shall we stick with errors first?
Yes.
Okay, here we are. Next error is unresolved import rocket. Shall I just delete this?
I don't see it yet because, yes.
Oh, really? Okay, goodbye. All right, failed to resolve Tokyo. You need to import that? Nope. Do we need to like add Tokyo to our cargo toml or something?
We don't have Tokyo.
Maybe we were getting it implicitly. Oh, it's a dev dependency. All right, I'm going to flip that up to a regular dependency.
Yep.
Sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay.
But
I didn't.
So Tokyo, but what isn't
I
it a
guess we were
workspace
using
dependency?
Tokyo indirectly through Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are dealing with it directly.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
I don't know what this means. Was this ever okay, or is this something we did in the small branch?
Uh, Now it's a Tokyo main. I think it can have not have the default return type.
Is that just like that?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, This is just probably we're doing things in a rocket way that don't make sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, I heard the alarm. Do we want to land this plane or keep going?
Land the plane, please.
Okay. Bob. No. Okay. There we go. All right. Well, feels like we're chugging along now.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
think
I'm pretty happy about poems so far. I didn't see anything that seems weird. Also, it kind of feels like it's asking less of me, less than Rocket.
I mean, what I like about it is it feels to be like kind of less get in your way, like dealing a little bit more with like the underlying types, like the main change, for instance, is like they're not controlling the entry point, we are, and that smells more correct to me. And the whole fairing rocket stuff just disappearing, that feels like a hey, things got simpler. That makes me happy.
Hmm. Yes.
Did we ever get Roland's? You know, our Rust ecosystem expert. Did did he give us a hot take on poem?
Not yet. Not yet. But he
Okay.
said next week he might join more.
Yeah. You told him we're not doing Rust code Nix code anymore.
Yes, I did.
Sweet.
But I'm not sure that's the reason he didn't join.
No, sure. It's fun to pretend that that's the reason.
All right, let me close it off. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and even sponsor. Till next time. Bye bye.